Hello everyone. So today we're going to talk about the unit circle. Now the unit circle is just a circle that goes anti-clockwise starting at 0, then to 90 degrees, then 180 degrees, then 270 degrees. Now you can be asked to use the unit circle to find the sine, cos or tan of an angle. The most important thing to remember with the unit circle is which out of sine, cos and tan are positive in each quarter of the circle. So in the first quarter, we say that all three out of sine, cos and tan are positive. In the second quadrant, we say that sine is positive. That means the other two are negative. Then on to tan, and then the cosine. A handy way to remember this is using the mnemonic all students trust calculators. So we're going to use this unit circle now to find out the tan of 285 degrees as our first example. So the first thing you want to do is draw out the unit circle. Again, you label on 0, 90, 180 degrees and 270 degrees. Now we want to find where 285 degrees is going to be. So we'll look at our unit circle. We go back from 0 to 90 to 180, 270, and it will likely be here, roughly 285 degrees. The next thing that we need to remember now is what sine tan of 285 degrees is going to have. So all of them are positive in the first quadrant, then sine is positive, then tan, and then cos. Remembering our mnemonic, all students trust calculators. So if the cos is the only one that's positive in this quadrant, then that means that tan of 285 degrees is going to be negative. For the next step now, we look at what angle this line here is going to make with the horizontal axis. So the horizontal axis is this line here stretching from 0 to 180. The angle it makes with that axis is going to be this angle here. So to go from 285 to complete the circle, at that point there, 360 degrees or 0 degrees, this goes through a total change of 75 degrees. So the final step we need to take then, we know that tan is negative and we're just going to put in this value here, 75 degrees. So our overall answer then is going to be minus the tan of 75 degrees, which would be minus 3.732. Tan of 75 degrees is 3.732, and then we just keep the minus from here. So again, to recap the steps, I drew out my unit circle, 0, 90, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and even going back to 360 degrees. I filled in our angle, 285 degrees, shown here by this red line. Then I decided, was my answer going to be positive or negative? In this case, it was a negative because only cos is positive in this quadrant. And then I figured out what the angle was from the horizontal axis. In this case, it was 75 degrees. So I got my minus sign from the all students trust calculators, then tan of 75 degrees because that was the angle of the horizontal. I then solved it out, and this is my answer, minus 3.732. So now we can look at a second example where we're going to try and find the sine of 135 degrees. So again, we'll draw a unit circle going from 0 to 90, 180, 270, then finishing up again at 360 degrees. So 135 degrees will be between 90 and 180 degrees. So we'll draw it about here. So again, the first thing we're going to do is look at what the sign of our answer is going to be, or I should say, will it be positive or negative? So again, it's all students trust calculators. Because it's in this quadrant here and its sign, we know it's going to be positive. If it was cos or tan in this quadrant, it would be negative. Again, all of them are positive here. Only sine is positive here. Tan is positive here, and cos is positive here. So if we have 130 degrees going back to here, again it's always anti-clockwise, then we look at the angle that makes with our horizontal axis. So this angle in here, which in this case the difference between 135 degrees and 180 degrees is 45 degrees. So again, we can say it's positive because we know that sine is positive in that quadrant, and we know that it's going to be the same as the sine of 45 degrees. Now if we look on our log tables, I think it's page 13, and we can look that up, we get that the sine of 45 degrees is 1 over the square root of 2. And again, we can keep our positive sign here. So whenever you're doing these out, I know we can just go to our calculator and do sine of 135 degrees, but it's really important to show that we're drawing our unit circle and we're getting the sine from it, then measure the angle from the horizontal and doing it out this way, because that's what they'll be looking for in an exam. So the third and final example that we're going to look at is an example where we're given what tan works out as, and we just need to find the angle theta. So they say here to do that between 0 and 360 degrees. So again, the first thing we're going to do is draw the unit circle. Again, marking all your angles, 0, 90, 180, 270. And bring it up again to 360, where it meets 0. We know from here that tan is positive. So we're going to look on our circle now and see what angles or what quadrants that's true for. So again, all students trust calculators. So tan is going to be positive here in the first quadrant where all of them are positive, and tan is going to be positive here in the third quadrant. So we can now look at our log tables if we like, because we're given a surd here, and we'll see what angle corresponds to the square root of 3. So if we work backwards, the tan inverse of the square root of 3, or you can just consult your log tables, is going to give you 60 degrees. Now that by itself might tell us one of the angles, but we're going to do this the proper way because we've been asked to do it as part of the question. So what we're going to do is use 60 degrees as our reference angle, and we know that's going to be the angle that our final answers make with the horizontal. So on that first quadrant, we're going to mark an angle of 60 degrees. Again, from the horizontal, we're always measuring from the horizontal. And in the third quadrant, we're also going to measure an angle of 60 degrees. Again, it has to be measured from the horizontal, which in this case is here. So in our first quadrant, if we started at 0 and we add 60 degrees, that will bring us up to the 60 degree mark. In our third quadrant, if we start at 180 and add 60 degrees, that will bring us up to 240 degrees here. And they're the two possible answers. So just by using your calculator, you would get one of them. If you tried to find this tan inverse of root 3, you would get 60 degrees. Or even using the log tables on page 13. But the reason behind using the unit circle is because there's actually two answers to this question, because it asks us between 0 and 360 degrees. So writing out our answers then, the answers are 60 degrees and 240 degrees.